guys are interested, but I can only talk so much about them. I'll do my best. I'm Lieutenant Dustin Keller. My first 3 years in the Air Force, I've been doing maintenance for the station at Air Force Base, which is in Rapid City, South Dakota. And in October, I got moved, and I'm now stationed at Tinker, and I'm an acquisitions officer. So I have a little bit of a different experience in that aspect. My first 3 years were completely complex. I'm an actual acquisitions officer with maintenance experience. I did deploy doing maintenance, which was awesome as well. I really liked that.
Just doing intros?
Yeah.
Steve Grow, I'm a contracting officer down at Tinker. This is my third base. I was at Dias in Texas and then Travis up in North California. We're pretty much the business advisors to the Air Force. It takes a contracting officer's signature to be able to spend $1 or $1 billion to buy something for the Air Force. So whatever our requirement is, we're kind of a blend of the business world and the military, and getting a bit of the military and for the business side of things. So if you're a business major and a business interest, it's a group that we're going for that as well. We deploy a lot. We're one of the most highly tasked deployers to go over and support the Army. I was in Afghanistan for 10 months. Every meal served, every gallon of fuel pumped, every air conditioner, every generator, helicopter service, everything I was writing contracts for. So you're very involved, and an Army doesn't really move unless it's fed and fueled and got its supplies and ammunition and weapons. And we're very much involved in that as well.
What questions do you guys have for us?
For maintenance, is it more paperwork, or do you actually just go out and touch the equipment?
Yes and no. You get to part of learning, so you can maybe speak what you're doing, but for the most part, you're not hands-on involved. Paperwork-wise, you're scheduling the aircraft with flyers. You're going to tell them what aircraft they're going to be using, along with dictating what maintenance schedule you're going to be doing. Sometimes you have hard jets, and you've got ones that just need servicing. So you're working that along with your students.
So for engineering, what companies are you doing?
So engineering is a huge field. So right now I'm in supply chain. So you can think of it's a statement of the force. There are engineers that are doing research, kind of more figuring out what kind of thing we can bring into the force 10, 20 years down the road. There are those in program offices, so each, which is what you're working on, right? So each airplane pretty much has their own program office. They work on kind of like upgrades and those kind of things for the airplane. So a lot of what we do is not so much. I'm not going to get out my pen and paper and kind of like figure out what are we going to put on the jet next and design it. I'm more work with like a contractor that says, hey, this is the design we have, and I help them get through like testing or those kind of things. Or in my case, I work with suppliers a lot. So people will be like, hey, we're qualifying this part on the airplanes, and I'll say yes or no. That's cool. Or some guy will be, a mechanic will be in the shop saying, hey, I'm trying to fix this part. It's not working like we expected it to work. What can I do? How come this test isn't operating properly? I can help them troubleshoot. So I use my knowledge of what I know in engineering and try to figure things out for them.
Well, it's interesting, both of these roles, we all pretty much play together, whereas when I'm about to go buy something, it's him who's going to say, this is what we need, and then engineers are going to analyze the product or design the fix to whatever we're going to do, and then we'll be the ones that go out and write the contract for the contractor to support the effort he's talking about. So you're always interfacing, I'm always interfacing with finance, trying to make sure we got the money to pay the contractor, and you're getting a lot of overlap in career fields in these situations.
I didn't say that for acquisitions, we're working more on sustainment of aircraft and working with contractors and buying new aircraft, putting out the requirements and whatnot, and the sustainment things, doing the modifications, working with engineering, and right now I work with the KC-10, I'm the KC-10 program manager and the KC-10 program manager office. For that, we're currently, we work with contractors all the time, Boeing and Northrop Grumman, and anybody, because it's a contracted aircraft, it's not maintained by the military except for at the bases. So we work a lot with the contractors, we're kind of the interface for the government at that aspect.
Right now, I'm working on the C-32, C-40, which are Boeing 737s and 757s that are our VIP fleet. So the Vice President's plane, Air Force Two, the First Lady's plane, SecDev's plane, all of our four-star co-com commanders have a plane run through our program that I'm responsible for the contracts for. That Boeing is actually the ones going and doing the work, and they break down in Australia and Germany and Switzerland and Brazil. We just had some issues, and we send the Boeing team out and kind of diagnose the fix with our engineers from here, and we have to send an engine to swap out down there, and make sure we can get that plane back for our truly very important customers, all the cabin members and all them to fly our fleet. So it's pretty cool.
Any other questions?
When you deployed, how much of it were you actually calculating all this stuff, or just were you more managing the contracts?
It's a blend of both. For our really huge contracts like food and stuff, there's different types of contracting. There's procuring, meaning you're going to buy it originally, and then administering is we have a contract in place, and how does it actually function on a day-to-day basis. So you can kind of play both roles sometimes at the same time. If you got something new that comes up, like, hey, we need to build a new talk or something over here, I have local contractors do that. Like food and stuff are giant contracts through DLA, Defense Logistics Agency, and we kind of write orders against the existing agreements that we have to bring in food and fuel and all that stuff as well.
So you said you deployed for maintenance, right?
Yep.
What exactly do you do on a deployment as a maintenance officer?
Same thing I did at home, just in an employed environment. I actually deployed with the unit I was working with up in South Dakota. Sometimes you don't always do that. For me, I was an AMU assistant OIC, so I was the second in charge. I worked the night shift, basically making sure and overseeing all maintenance for our fleet of aircraft. Same thing I would have done at home station, basically. Nothing really different. You're practicing at home to deploy and do the same thing.
I'm an engineering major, so what's the best route to get into doing research stuff? So, are there specific bases I should be looking into more than other ones, or?
Yes. So Right Pat is a good one to go. They have some SPOs, but they also do some research. I believe Arnold has some research there. And Tyndall has some research there, and Edwards. I think those are the best ones if you want to get into research. And I will tell you, it's hard to get those jobs, and usually as a lieutenant, that's not where you are. So expect to be in probably a project office or a supply chain, however, in the ALC at either Tinker, Hill, or Robbins first.
And then you can work your way into research. So what's the process? If I can't start there, how do I get?
So moving around jobs anywhere in the Air Force is kind of difficult. A lot of it sometimes random or by name. So really the best way, if you want to get somewhere, the best way is to take the job you're doing, do it to the best of your ability, and hopefully, build your contacts, get to know people, and that's the best way to get wherever you want. And that goes for anything. You guys can attest to that.
When you're on one base, you're not going to do the same job for the entire time you're on base. For me, I was up at Ellsworth. I had 4 different jobs up there doing maintenance. I wasn't just on the flight line or just in the back shops doing stuff. That'll be the same for this base. I'll be in this job for 2 years, and then I'll move to somewhere else on base. And you work that through your chain of command, saying, "Hey, I really want to do this. Can you help me get there?" Now, when going to a different base, that's where it's by name requests, and you fill out our basically our dream sheets every time we're getting ready to move, and then the Air Force ultimately says where you're going to go and what you're going to do.
So you get to fill out a new sheet every time you move to say what you want to do?
Yes.
Oh.
It's a website.